Hey, quick disclaimer here. This interview was done before the September ban list. As expected, this build is no longer viable. But I still wanted to share it because it's a notable accomplishment with SuperQuants, and I think there are some fun things we discuss here. Plus, there's always the possibility this build will still be viable in Master Duel in the future. For now, we've already been hard at work cooking up new combos with post-ban list Fiendsmith in our Discord. If you're interested in that, check the link below. Oh, and if you want to see a first place version of this deck list, then stick around to the end of the video. Now, on to the interview. Hey, I'm Plus Infinite, and today we're going to be checking out Millennium Fiendsmith Quants with AsparagusBenz. Welcome. What would you like me to call you, by the way? Is it Benz?
Yeah, Ben's is fine.
Okay, all right. Well, welcome on, Benz. Thanks for chatting with me here. Benz is going to be telling us a little bit about his performance at a recent local tournament. If I'm not mistaken, you got fourth place, right?
Yep, I did.
Awesome. I love winning with super quants in general. Any kind of, winning that we get in the super quant community is celebrated here. But fourth place with a relatively new build of the deck is pretty exciting. And you had some tough matchups, if I'm not mistaken, too, which we'll get to. But before we do that, tell us a little bit about your experience with super quants or getting into the deck and the community, if you would, Benz.
Yeah, sure. I started playing the deck when it came out. When was that? Was that like 2016-ish? Something like that.
Ooh, OG then.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, before like white layer and like stuff like that. Was like when normal summoning green layer was like okay. And and I was just playing it as like a fun deck. I don't think I ever took it to locals. I was just like playing with my friends and um after like a little while, I had like put it Yu-Gi-Oh down in general, and I started playing again a couple years ago. Kind of like at the height of the pandemic when everyone was inside. I was just like starting to like come back to the game, and I was checking out all my old decks and seeing if they, worked or not. And then I saw that we had White Layer and all this other support, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. And yeah, I've been playing the past couple of years, but I think I took Super Quants to locals like once, and I got completely just waxed. And later on, I found this Discord, and I think you did shortly after I did, and everyone has just recently been so excited about like cooking with the deck, and uh, so was I, and I finally like put something together that I felt comfortable taking to locals with, and then yeah, it worked out.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And yeah, definitely agree with you on the community being a fantastic thing. I've kind of become addicted to it, just checking it all the time. I don't think I've ever felt as at home in a community. It's really welcoming. There's a lot of cooking, like you said, a lot of excitement over even the smallest things. And we get
Hmm.
some of the wildest builds here, so I think it's awesome. But this one's cool because like Fiendsmith is something that I know a lot of people are kind of love hate about it because it's just like on the one hand it makes powerful decks really powerful, on the other hand it makes rogue decks kind of viable. So I mean, who knows what's going to happen on this ban list if it's not already come out by now. We'll we'll hope for the best that we don't lose Beatrice.
That one didn't age quite so well.
Because that's kind of the key point, I think, for us as Super Quant players, sending White Layer specifically. Also, fun tech here is the Millennium monsters, right? So tell
Yeah.
me your thoughts on the Millennium monsters.
So the thing about the Millennium Monsters is I'm gonna kind of talk about Fiendsmith at the same time.
Sure, sure, you can talk about
But
both.
it's the reason I decided to play them is twofold. The first is that the reason the build I made up like works so well is because it's the same reason like most decks can abuse the Fiendsmith engine, and it's because you can make Closed Moon with like two bodies. And so long as you have like a deck full of extenders, you always have access to the Fiendsmith engine. And you and I and some others like joined that Discord tournament, and we all had like different brews that we tried. I was, for context, I was like on a Melodious Super Quant version, and the problem with all of those decks is you can't like access the other half, like the non-Super Quant version of the deck whenever you want. Like you have to draw it. And because this has just become a thing where it's like, okay, any two bodies turns into Fiendsmith engine. I was kind of looking into what produces like the most bodies for like the least investment. And we already have the Terratop engine, right? Super, like, they might as well be super quants at this point.
Right.
But what was really cool about the Millennium stuff is that one of them is also a level 6. And
Yes, the golem.
the reason, yeah, and that's really, really helpful for basically just like not the best hands, like there's like okay, we can put two bodies on the board, right? But maybe it's not like your favorite two bodies, right? Like it's not
Right.
okay, if I have blue layer and green layer on board, I don't want to link those off in the closed moon. That's not
Right.
exactly how I'd like that to go. So there you can get awkward hands, and then the Millennium engine will just like spit out three bodies. You can link off the shield and Singajin into closed moon, and then leave Golem on the field for when you need to overlay for Beatrice.
I love that.
So this makes it so like the deck is like extra consistent. I made as part of my like locals experience, I made Magnus every game I won. It there was like it's either you hand trap me to death or Nibiru me or Magnus is coming out with
Yeah,
this build.
it sounded like it. So in our mission report channel in the Discord, you shared the breakdown of the games, and for those interested, you can join and check it out. You give a pretty thorough game-by-game breakdown, but just as a rough kind of summary here, let's take a look here. So you went up against, let's see, round 1, you had Chimera. You later went into White Forest, and round 3 was TG Snake Eyes, which is that's unexpected.
Yeah.
And then round 4 against Branded to take it home. Yeah, so that was a pretty heavy-duty lineup of decks there. What can you recall about that experience, just kind of to summarize?
So I could probably just go like one by one, kind of like highlights. The Chimera Fiendsmith matchup was um annoying to say the least, because the if you lose the dice roll, which I did, you might get like a hand rip, which is normally okay. Like if I have this, like in the sense of like, oh, if I get hand trapped once, can I play through that? You can. But like if you're going into a board with one less card, that's usually pretty tough. And
Definitely.
they also can set up the Diabelle's card that makes you have to set cards, so that completely turns off E-Telly. So that's really bad.
Oh no.
So I remember I tried to play through the first game, but I kind of gave up. But the annoying thing actually is that game 2, I put up Magnus, and then they made Chaos Angel, and it took like 4 turns to like draw an imperm while they just like sat on it. But luckily,
Because it won't die by
luckily after
battle,
that,
right?
yeah, it won't die by battle, and it's unaffected by monster effects. And like that just basically means Magnus can't get rid of it.
Just stalling on Chaos Angel. I mean, that's what it gets to, right? You have an 8-mat Magnus out, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I was able to go full combo. The only interruption they had was Bestial. But I guess for anyone learning about the Fiendsmith engine, Lacrima, the fusion, can bring back the Fiendsmith from Banished also.
Wow.
So he targeted the Fiendsmith, and I just reborned it anyways from Banishment. So that was kind of a misplay on their part.
That's kind of sick, because I see you have the Bestials in here, and I suppose you can banish them and revive from Banish with Lacrima. That's sick.
Yeah, and yeah, so like exactly, if you're going first and maybe they don't hand trap you, you could just do it to yourself and like have a level 6 body on board.
Oh man, I love that. I love that. So Chimera Fusion, game 3, you finished up pretty handily, I think.
Yeah, so
nice,
game
side.
Yeah, I drew like completely into my sideboard. I think I drew I'm looking at it now. I drew Perulia, Druis Worm, Ghost Mourner, Spooky Dogwood for time, and also White Layer.
There was no way he was winning.
Yeah, there was no way he was winning. And when he went for the hand rip, he took out White Layer, and I searched for Alphen.
That's too great. You gotta love that. Okay. Yeah, and then let's see, White Forest. Any of the other matchups kind of stand out? White Forest, TG Snake, Branded.
White Forest, the only thing that I can take away from that is that I'm thinking about making a change to the deck, which is maybe including Crossout. I'm trying to like think of new ways, like anti-Nibiru lines.
Yeah,
But
it's tough.
since it was my first time with this build, I kind of just went like Nibiru or die. And this round, he had Nibiru both times.
Dang. So you
Um,
really lost to Nibiru more than you lost to anything else.
yeah, the first game Nib completely stopped me. The second game, we were even though he nibbed me, I got it to like a simplified game state and I made a misplay. But
Oh,
even still, that should be the exception, not the rule, right? Like we need to have like anti-nib lines. We can't just like disrespect nib, especially after sighting, you know?
yeah, I get you there, and you know, you have kind of the room for non-engine too to fit it in, I think. So maybe that would be a good thing on the sideboard in future builds, but I know you're working on that. And then tell me about, so that was your only loss, I guess, was
Hmm.
against double Nibiru. And
Yeah,
then
not so sure it was about. I don't think it was anything really to do with White Forest or Nick. It was more like Nibiru.
looks like you got a clean 2-0 against TG Snake Eyes. He let you go first for some reason, and you made an 8-man Magnus.
Yeah, I lost the die roll again, so at this point I've lost die roll 3 times, and I was like, this is just like not the day. But they must have been on some kind of like go second strategy and didn't draw. They actually showed me their hand after, and I think it was like 2 poplar, 1 oak, the TG spell that searches, and one other card. And since I made Magnus, they couldn't search, and it
That
was it
sounds
was yeah.
that sounds tragic for them.
It, it
Yeah.
sounds like a custom brick hand because
Yeah.
Snake Eyes never bricks.
I mean, an 8 Mad Magnus is already tough to play around for sure. So, I mean,
Right.
and you had a 2 Mad Apo. Wow. So that
Yeah,
was a
and
clean
then
win.
yeah, and then the second game they elected to go first, which was smart. And they I remember ashing the TG spell, which apparently needs a discard for cost. So that ended up severely hampering their board because they basically were playing with 3 cards only.
Oh, wow.
And then I played through their negates and then I made I made Magnus the old school way with Alphen and E-Telly.
I,
So
I love that. I want to linger on that for just a minute. You played through their negates and still made a 6-Mat Magnus. How do you do that in 2024? Just tell me that, Benz. I need to know.
well, it's because of the Fiendsmith stuff, right? So like it draws a ton of attention. So like I started with like Engraver. They start reacting to that, to the Millennium stuff, and then I end up with just I think I ended up with like 3 cards in hand, and it was one of them was E-Telly, one of them was Alphen, and I forgot what the last one was, but it was enough to get me to like just a 6-mat Magnus.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
Just
and
a
then I just
6-Mat.
sat it. Well, just as in, no more
Yeah.
hand, nothing else on field. Like,
That's it. But
yeah.
still, that's pretty sick after playing through a few interruptions. That's one of the things I think the deck needs the most is the ability to play through hand traps. And if you have an engine that really draws attention, like you said, like Fiendsmith, you really don't want them to pop up. You can throw like 2 or 3 hand traps at them. Same thing with
Hmm.
Millennium, draws a lot of attention where it's just like, oh boy, we don't want to see this pop off because, as soon as you get those 2 bodies, there's the Fiendsmith engine, right? So when you
Yeah.
have something like that baits, I think it leaves room for our old classic combos like the Italian Alphen or Telefan as we call it in the community. So
Hmm.
that's pretty cool. And then let's see, the last round against Branded. Sounds like that was a fight.
Yeah. So I think the thing with like modern branded, I think Pack has popularized. I mean, he's been doing super well and reporting a lot on how he plays branded. And I think his method right now is no hand traps. It's just board breakers. It's like Dark Ruler no more, Super Poly, stuff like that. And so I finally won the dice roll. It's my first one, round 4. And
Finally.
yeah, I did not know they were on branded, but like I got to a certain point where I was like, okay, they definitely don't have hand traps, and continued uninterrupted. They like read Magnus. I think they didn't know what Magnus does. They like sat there and like read it for a second, and they were like, all right, let's go game 2.
Yeah, I love that. I call that the Magnus effect. When you end on the Magnus, it's all you have is Magnus most of the time. Well, and then you just read it and it's like, well, yeah, I can't play through this. Sorry.
Well, so the other thing too, and this is interesting to note, it was probably like a tip for branded players. I probably shouldn't be telling them, but branded does have an out to Magnus.
Oh yes, I know about it. I know very
Yeah,
well.
and he was not playing it. because
Yeah.
it's like the 16th branded card in the extra deck, I feel like.
Yeah, it's one of the
Um,
cuttable ones, right? It's like,
right, and he cut it, and this was like the wrong day to cut it.
yeah, yeah. It's, I've definitely seen it come up against Magnus. It is scary when it happens, especially if you don't have a line into the Xyz armor stuff. It can
Hmm.
be very hairy, but I am curious. So monsters that are summoned from the extra deck can't affect the mysterious branded tech card that we will not name. But can you princess pop it?
Um,
Because it's a
that's a
monster in
good
the
point.
grave now. Maybe you could. I'm curious now. We'll have to find that out.
How's it? Yeah, we'd have to like read it exactly. Uh, I would say no. I feel like it's talking about monsters on the field. Uh, but yeah, that's for a judge to answer.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, keep that in mind. Princess pop the branded out. But anyways, yeah. So that was a fight to the death. It looks like game two he gimmick puppet locked and there was no out.
Oh
But
my God. No, I think I could have won this. So I this is just kind of my inexperience with branded. But yeah, he gimmick puppet locked me 3 times, and on the third time,
in one
I
game.
yeah, well the thing was that he kind of sort of bricked on interruptions, and so he stopped me from making Magnus after I went on my turn, and then we were kind of just going back and forth until he was able to do the whole sanctifier gimmick puppet thing,
Oh, I see.
and so once I knew he was going for that, I started saving my gas, and at one point I had saved Nibiru, Alphen, and then I drew into Imperm. And my mistake was that he had Gimmick Puppet lockout, and I had Imperm set, and I should have let him combo off and then nibbed the field. But when he went to go do some branded play that I can't remember what it was, I went to Imperm it, and I should have gambled on him overextending to try to like go for game and
I
just nibbing the
see.
board.
I see.
Um,
But they
so
play an anti nib in the form of courier, right? Like they kind of recur that a bunch. Is that
yeah,
something
but
he could have had?
no, this was we were both like down to like 3 cards each,
Oh,
and yeah, he was just trying to get something on board, and
very
so
simplified. Okay, I see.
mhm.
So it was tough. But gimmick puppet locked in three times in one game is something nobody wants to hear. But the fact that you lived long enough to be that close to win's pretty cool. Um, but then you went
Yeah,
to
the
game three.
yeah, game three, same thing. I mean, I don't think they side into hand traps or anything like that. So I went uninterrupted, and I
Ooh.
actually got this idea like as I was comboing because one of the cards in my hand was Ash, and I went ahead and saved it and left Sunlight Wolf on the field. Which if you go to the Discord, you can see like you can find my name on there and see the basic combo. It usually ends with Sunlight Wolf and Magnus on board.
Right.
And what I did is that when I ended my turn, I had eight Map Magnus and Sunlight Wolf out. On their turn, I Ash Branded Fusion because, as you know, that still hurts.
Yes.
Uh,
Still does
and
something.
right, and then on my turn, I think they like set a couple things because they still can't search, right? I think they set like Branded and Red and something else. And the first action I did was summon Engraver from grave underneath Sunlight Wolf and added Ash back to my hand.
Oh my god. That's
Yeah,
too
and
great.
and so they ended up using branded in red, and then super poly later in the turn. Not on Sunlight Wolf, and I ashed the Queritus effect because he made Queritus to like zero out all the monsters, so I couldn't OTK.
Right.
And so then I linked off Engraver into Requiem, and then waited till his turn on his main phase. I activated Requiem to summon Engraver underneath Sunlight Wolf again, and then put Ash back in my hand again.
What? Hang on a minute. During the main phase quick effect, during the main phase, not yours, you can summon the fiends. So you
Yeah,
ashed him like multiple times in a row with
it was
Sunlight Wolf.
it was one copy of Ash that I used 3 times in a row.
Oh, I love that. He must have been so disappointed, but what a cool win. Oh man, I love that. I mean,
Yeah, it was awesome.
the dude gimmick puppet locked you. He had it coming.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, respect to branded players, but you really don't need that. Come on, let's see some innovation. Oh
Well,
boy.
hopefully the ban list takes care of that. We'll see.
Yeah, hopefully. We'll see after this video comes out. But anyways, thanks for sharing that recap of the games, Benz. I'm looking at the deck list, and I mean, I feel like everything is pretty self-explanatory, and if there's any questions, then I would encourage people to come check out the Discord, chat with us, and ask about the variety of wild things that we're coming up with. And yeah, we're just always cooking. Anything you want to say?
Yeah, no, I just want to echo what you said. Like it's so much fun to like cook with this deck because um I think all the super quants have like effects that are gonna be relevant forever, which is that if they're sent to the graveyard, something happens, and on something happens. That's like never not gonna be good. So like we're just waiting for, the extra deck generic link 2 that revives blue layer from grave so that we can have carrier access at all times. But
Yes.
Konami, if you're listening.
Yes, for now we have to rely on things like cross sheep.
Right.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, it's been really great talking with you, Benz, and I hope everybody checks out the deck. For those who are curious about Fiendsmith and want to try out the package, but maybe can't get by with the full 3 copies, would you say can you still build this deck with one? What do you think about that?
Yeah, 1000%. You can do just one and it'll be just fine. The only thing you lose by not playing 3 is one, consistency, right? Like drawing him is very good. And then the other thing too is that I think you end up kind of you have to play resource management like very, very carefully. Because even with the 3, it's possible to like not have enough light fiends to shuffle back with the sequence line to go like format Apo or summon Lacrima and stuff like that. So it's totally possible. You just got to study up on the lines on like what to do if you only have one engraver.
Got it. Okay. Well, cool. I think that's about it. Again, anybody who wants to come check out the Discord and talk to us, or maybe ask questions, or want to see any of the new things that we're innovating, please come check us out. I'll leave a link down below. Thanks again, Benz, for joining me. And, oh my God, I forgot my outro. 1 second. Oh, yeah, that's okay. I've been Plus Infinite. Wait. Until next time, I've been Plus Infinite. Thanks so much for watching. Stay cool, take care, and have a good rest of your day. There we go. Nailed it.
Nice, easy peasy.
All right. Thanks, Benz. All right. If you've made it this far, thanks so much for watching. And as a reward, here's that first place deck list that I promised in the thumbnail.
Hello, viewers. It's me, Super Quantum Fairy Alphin. You're watching Plus Infinite. Subscribe for more Super Quantum content. Ay, 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 ay.